Punan, Tikas.
To our President, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, President of the Republic of the Philippines and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. To my wife, Mrs. Caroline Miranda, Secretary Delphine N. Lorenzana, General Eduardo M. Año, Armed Forces of the Philippines, and his wife, Jean, Most Reverend Leopoldo S. Tumulak, our military bishop, Secretary Salvador Villaldea, Executive Secretary, DND officials present, Police Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa, Lieutenant General and Mrs. Edgar Fallurina, Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force, Lieutenant General and Mrs. Vice Admiral Ronald Joseph S. Mercado, the Flag Officer in Command, Philippine Navy, Rear Admiral Luis M. Tuason Jr., OIC, Philippine Coast Guard, Brigadier General Alvin A. Pareño, Deputy Commandant, Philippine Marine Corps, former CGPAs present, Unified Commanders present, Philippine Army Major Unit Commanders, Ms. Dory Dominguez, the direct descendant of General Ricarte, Sergeant Major Romeo M. Handungan, Philippine Army, AAP Sergeant Major, Chief Master Sergeant Roberto Jimenez, the Army Sergeant Major, foreign military representatives from allied countries, Mr. Alberto A. Lim, the Acting Chairman, and other members of the Philippine Army Multi-Sectoral Advisory Board, other generals and flag officers present, the Medal of Valor awardees, the awardees for this year's anniversary, local chief executives and stakeholders of the Philippine Army that are present here, distinguished guests, men and women of the Philippine Army, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the men and women of the Philippine Army, I welcome you all to the celebration of our 120th year anniversary. Ipinagbubunyi natin sa araw na ito ang isang siglo at 2 dekada ng matagumpay na paglilingkod ng hukbong katihan sa ating bayan at mga kapwa Pilipino. Ginugunita rin po natin sa pagdiriwang na ito ang karangalan, kagitingan, kabayanihan at katapangan ng sundalong Pilipino. Since his birth in 1897, the Army continues to go through countless challenges and victories and is evolving into the modern Army that it is today. The story of the Philippine Army in the past 12 decades is a continuing tale of courage and heroism, triumphing against great odds in the fight for freedom and eventually for peace. Initially starting as a ragtag revolutionary force clothed in rayodillo blue and armed mostly with either Mauser or Remington rifles and bolos, the Philippine Army, which was also known as the Ejército en la República de la Filipina, during the leadership of Generals Artemio Ricarte and Antonio Luna, is evolving into a fighting force whose mettle was tested in combat against foreign adversaries in the hills of Bataan, the frozen mountains of Korea, and the distant jungles of Vietnam. The fighting spirit of the Army also stood up well against various threat groups in our vast archipelago. In all those years of service, one thing has remained unchanged: the Army's will and commitment to defend and preserve the Filipino way of life. Sa patuloy na paglilingkod ng iyong hukbong katihan sa mga darating na taon, asahan po ninyo na hindi lamang kaming nananatiling tagapagtanggol ng inyong kalayaan at kaligtasan, kundi katuwang din ninyo sa pagkamit ng magandang kinabukasan. Certainly, the Philippine Army would not be where it is now, were it not for the wisdom and the guidance of its former leaders. I therefore extend my profound gratitude to our former commanding generals who, by their collective perseverance, have steered the Army to attain its core purpose of serving the people and securing the land. Let me also convey, on behalf of the Philippine Army, our profound gratitude to the Commander-in-Chief, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Marami pong salamat sa kalinga, malasakit at suporta na patuloy ninyong ibinibigay sa ating kasundaluhan at sa kanilang pamilya. Maraming salamat din po sa inyong madalas na pagdalaw sa mga kampo upang alamin ang aming kalagayan, sa mga pagamutan upang kumustahin ang aming mga nagpapagaling na kasamahan, at sa mga malalayong mamamayan upang damayan ang pamilya ng mga kasamahan naming nag-alay ng buhay para sa bayan. Ang mga halimbawang ito ay nagpapatunay ng inyong dalisay na malasakit para sa ating mga kasundaluhan at nagbubungsod sa kanila upang lalong pag-ibayuhin ang pagganap sa kanilang tungkulin, pangalagaan ang kalayaan at kaligtasan ng ating bayan. Bilang pasasalamat at ayon sa kahilingan ng ating mga kasundaluhan, iaabot ko po sa ating mahal na Pangulo ang isang uniforme na sumasagisag sa kanyang pakikiisa sa hukbong katihan. Iaabot din po ng aming Army Sergeant Major ang isang canteen cup na kapwa sumasagisag sa kanyang pakikiisa at pakikipag-ugnayan sa ating kasundaluhan. Ang mga sundalong sabay na nakikipagsapalaran ay kapwa umiinom sa isang canteen cup, the trademark of being a soldier. May I now call Sergeant Major. I assure the Commander-in-Chief that the Philippine Army, as an instrument of national policy, stands firmly behind the Filipino people in their aspiration to have a drug-free, crime-free, and progressive country. Towards this direction, the organization joins the entire nation in realizing meaningful change for our greatness. As such, the Philippine Army continues its journey towards modernization and institutional transformation. The Army's efforts along these lines are guided by the concept of a soldier-centered, knowledge-based management system, enhancing the capability of our soldiers as well as standardizing the Army's ability to manage information. are now the Army's priorities. We expect these measures to help fulfill the mission of the Philippine Army to develop, organize, train, equip, support, and sustain ground forces in support to the armed forces of the Philippines mission, backed up by a large reserve. Leading the Army, I gladly and proudly report the Army's modernization initiatives and accomplishments, and the impact that these bring to the organization. In our current efforts to improve warfighting capabilities, we have acquired more firepower as well as better communications and force protection assets, while ensuring that all current acquisitions are compliant with existing statutory and regulatory requirements. The Army also played vital roles in the AFP's accomplishments last year under the Department of National Defense strategic guidance. We cleared several conflict-affected provinces and paved the way towards the rise for development. We continue to support the government's campaign against illegal drugs and ensure that our force remain a drug-free organization. We continuously pursue our reform initiative through the Army's transformation roadmap to ensure that the organization remains an institution of excellence and a beacon of good governance in public service. We formulated an action plan to operationalize the President's directive to institutionalize the mandatory ROTC program. We continuously conduct humanitarian assistance and disaster response efforts involving various Army units and its reserve force. We continue to enhance existing bilateral military relations with other ASEAN and foreign armies. We hosted several multilateral engagements, such as the 17th ASEAN Chief of Armies Multilateral Meeting, the 6th ASEAN Sergeant Major Annual Meeting, and excelled in the 26th ASEAN Armies Rifle Meet. The Philippine Army continuously works with the global community for peace and progress worldwide through participation in peacekeeping missions in various countries. Philippine Army is also spreading the message to our soldiers are not just fighters, but also bearers of peace and hope. As an example, we have partnered with the Dar Amana Children's Village Foundation, which takes care of orphans and other victims of the armed conflict in Mindanao. At this point, may I invite the Dar Amana beneficiaries to stand up and we recognize. Thank you very much. You may be seated. The Army helps to give a better future to these children as part of its overarching role as peace builders. These developments are indicative of a more caring and responsive Philippine Army that is not only better equipped and better trained, but a more cohesive force in the service of the Filipino people. As your Commanding General, I believe in the saying, mission first, welfare always. Along this line, I urge the men and women of the Philippine Army to put service above self and stay committed to our oath to serve the people, uphold the Constitution, and protect the government. To our beloved stakeholders, it is important that we agree on the idea that national security is a shared responsibility. The only way we can guarantee your freedom and safety is by working together as a team. Help us build the Army you want us to be and the Army you need us to be. This is, after all, your Army. As we celebrate 120 years of service, we salute all soldiers who have given the ultimate sacrifice in the accomplishment of our mission to defend this country from hostile forces, both foreign and domestic. The sterling courage, unrivaled heroism, and the dedication to peace and freedom of our departed comrades are part of the Army's grand tradition they embody the greatest ideals by which all men and women of the Philippine Army always aspire for in their own service. Sa loob ng 120 taon, napatunayan ng hukbong katihan na kaya nitong tuparin ang pangakong dalhin ang sambayanang Pilipino tungo sa kapayapaan at kasaganaan. Dugo, pawis at buhay ang pinuhunan at ipinuhunan ng bawat sundalong Pilipino. Makakaasa kayo na handa naming labanan at sugpuin ang sinumang nagnanais guluhin ang simpleng pangarap ng bawat Pilipino na mabuhay ng mapayapa, masagana at maligaya. Again, welcome to our 128th anniversary celebration. Mabuhay ang hukbong katihan, mabuhay ang Republika ng Pilipinas.
Thank you very much to the Commanding General, Philippine Army.
Mga sampanaw!
Please all stand for the presentation of command and honors.
Tanghal! Upunan, ugay kamay. Ta! Lapunan, baba kamay. Ta!
Thank you. Please be seated.
Ibaba! Ta!
The troop commander will present the troops for inspection.
Mahal na Pangulo, ang mga sampanaw ay handa na po upang libutin.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte will inspect the troops, accompanied by the Commanding General, Philippine Army, Lieutenant General Glorioso V. Miranda. Also joining them is the Troop Commander, Major General John N. Ayin. Since the President of the Republic of the Philippines and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, was elected and inaugurated, he goes around camps. His mere presence lifts the soldiers' morale to fight, and his words of assurance that their welfare is being taken care of are enough to give only the best. The sincerity of his concern won him the highest respect of the Army soldiers. The fatherly concern in him for the troops is best exemplified every time he personally visits the wounded in the hospitals and attends the wake of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. The President would be there to console the wounded, awarding them wounded personnel medals, extending financial, medical, and educational assistance for their children, and while also extending the same benefits to the bereaved families of those fallen soldiers and awarding them posthumously, while also ordering the inclusion of the widows of the soldiers in the government's social livelihood for the 4-piece program. Truly, he has been showing that much compassion and concern for the soldiers. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte assured the soldiers that in his administration, they will be in his priorities. For him, their role as uniformed men is so valuable in achieving national security and lasting peace. As the Commander-in-Chief, he emphasized that he is responsible in providing the needs of the soldiers, which include gradual increase in salaries, proper medical facilities, and the finest possible equipment necessary to fulfill their duties as protectors of the state. He may be a president who sought for peace, yet he urged soldiers to always be prepared for any eventualities or contingency. On the other hand, as the President inspired confidence among troops, they who are in the institution could be counted on to establish the peace and order promised by the President to the Filipinos. Under his guidance, the Philippine Army continuously works on as catalyst for peace, development, and good governance. The Philippine Army stands fair and square behind the Commander-in-Chief, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, in support of his thrusts and program. The Philippine Army will continue to be a source of national pride as it fights its battles and faces challenges for the nation's security, peace, development, and progress. Ladies and gentlemen, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Republic of the Philippines, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Please remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem.
All! Ha! Kunan po kayo kamay.
Yang magiliw, peras ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningding. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwal, hatid pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Buwa kamay.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Ibaba!
Today's ceremony is a fitting gesture of recognizing those who have given their share for the command to have its mission accomplished. Awards will be conferred to the serving military and civilian personnel and ROTC cadets for their exemplary performances as members of the organization. Likewise, we recognize the untiring support extended to the military institution by our partner stakeholders. We shall now witness the presentation of awards. We'd like to request our guest of honor, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, to present the awards. The President will be assisted by the Secretary of National Defense, Delphine N. Lorenzana, the Commanding General, Philippine Army, Lieutenant General Glorioso V. Miranda. The Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Eduardo M. Año, is also requested to assist in the awarding. As chairman, he developed and crafted the Philippine Army operating concept, which laid down the guide on Army war fighting. The Outstanding Achievement Medal is awarded to Major General Rafael C. Valencia, Officer-8967 Armed Forces of the Philippines. As Company Commander of the 9th Scout Ranger Company, 3rd Scout Ranger Battalion, 1st Scout Ranger Regiment, Special Operations Command that raided an improvised explosive device manufacturing camp of Lawless Group in Sitio Project, Barangay Tuburan, proper Haji Mohabad Ajul, Basilan Province on 14 May 2015. The Distinguished Conduct Star is awarded to Captain Ariel R. Robles, Officer-14559, Philippine Army. As Commanding Officer, Charlie Company, 32nd Infantry Battalion, 1st Infantry Division, in an encounter against 30 Abu Sayyaf group members at Sitio Can Udang, Barangay Taglibi, Paricul, Sulu on 5 February 2015. The Distinguished Conduct Star is awarded to Captain Dennis P. Arado, Officer-15648, Philippine Army. As Commander of the 201st Infantry Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division from 30 March 2014 to 24 March 2016 that led to the realization of various community projects in Alabel, Quezon. The Distinguished Service Star is awarded to Major General Roderick M. Paraino, Officer-9218, Armed Forces of the Philippines. As squad leader of the 26th Infantry Battalion, 4th Infantry Division, in an encounter against 20 members of the CPP-NPA-NDF in Sitio Tagbulete, Barangay Del Monte, Veruela, Agusan del Sur on 27 June 2015. The Gold Cross Medal is awarded to Private First Class Eddie Boy L. Villar, 895563 Infantry, Philippine Army. As Rifleman of the Charlie Company, 32nd Infantry Battalion, 1st Infantry Division, in an encounter against 300 Abu Sayyaf group members in Barangay Gata, Talipaw, Sulu on 9 April 2015. The Gold Cross Medal is awarded to Private First Class Glean B. Sinangote, 911266 Infantry, Philippine Army. As an officer of the 103rd Infantry Brigade 1st Infantry Division who provided support during a pursuit operation against 200 members of the local terrorist organization under the Maute brothers in Butig, Lanao del Sur from 21 February to 01 March 2016. The Silver Cross Medal is awarded to Captain Armando A. Gabia, Officer-140916, Military Intelligence, Philippine Army. As member of the group that provided support for the successful conduct of operation resulting to the arrest of several personalities and confiscation of packs of shabu worth 800,000 pesos at Sitio Bato, Barangay Ermita, Cebu City, paralyzing the illegal drug trade in the said province. The Silver Cross Medal is awarded to First Lieutenant Joe Mark C. Bitbit, Officer-16383, Infantry, Philippine Army. As Commanding Officer of the 513th Engineer Construction Battalion of the 51st Engineer Brigade Philippine Army, who led the successful completion of the infrastructure projects at Florida Blanca Elementary School, Barangay San Antonio, Pampanga from 17 July to 16 August 2016. The Gawad sa Kaunlaran is awarded to Lieutenant Colonel Leonardo P. Pagaduan, Officer-11319, Corps of Engineers General Staff Corps, Philippine Army. As Battalion Commander of the 4th Infantry Battalion, 6th Infantry Division, in the conduct of law enforcement operations against the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters in Barangay Libutan, Mamasapano, Maguindanao, from 10 to 31 July 2016. The Bronze Cross Medal is awarded to Lieutenant Colonel Joel Q. Mamon, Officer-11072, Infantry General Staff Corps, Philippine Army. As member of the Headquarters and Headquarters Company of the 50th Infantry Battalion, 5th Infantry Division, during the conduct of rescue and retrieval operations after the onslaught of Typhoon Lando in Sitio Pugo, Barangay Junction, Pinukpuk, Kalinga on 18 October 2015, saving 18 civilians trapped in an island farm at the middle of Chico River. The Bronze Cross Medal is awarded to Corporal Lolibel B. Guloy, 877955, Infantry, Philippine Army. As member of the joint operation of 83rd Infantry Battalion and the Philippine National Police Catanduanes in the successful raid on a discovered shabu laboratory in Barangay Paltas Mall, Vera, Catanduanes on 26 November 2016, resulting to the confiscation of 1,151.75 grams of shabu and dismantling of the shabu laboratory. The Bronze Cross Medal is awarded to Corporal Adonis F. Sombrero, 881729, Infantry, Philippine Army. As team leader in the Scout Platoon 26th Infantry Battalion, 4th Infantry Division, in the conduct of 14 combat operations contributing to the accomplishment of the 4th Infantry Division's mission. The command plaque is awarded to Sergeant Joseph E. Hulibayan, 839244, Infantry, Philippine Army, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Enlisted Personnel of the Year 2017. As CAVGO member under the supervision of the 3rd Special Forces Battalion, Special Forces Regiment Airborne Special Operations Command, who contributed to the successful encounters at the 4th Infantry Division area of responsibility. The command plaque is awarded to CAVGO Active Auxiliary Roy B. Manlampuong, AS-G05-00062 Philippine Army, for having been adjudged as the CAVGO Active Auxiliary of the year 2017. As civilian supervisor, she initiated several projects, programs benefiting the civilian personnel under her supervision. The command plaque is awarded to Mrs. Army L. Agatea, Masters in Business Administration, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Model Supervisor, calendar year 2017. A civilian employee who accomplished her duties beyond working hours, yet ensuring appropriate dental health care to personnel within her division, as well as extending services in civic action activities. The command plaque is awarded to Dr. Blanca B. Bien, Doctor of Dental Medicine, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Model Employee, calendar year 2017. As Acting Brigade Commander of the 2001st Ready Reserve Infantry Brigade under the 11th Regional Community Defense Group, Army Reserve Command, he led the reservists of Tagum City and Davao del Norte Province in numerous collaborative efforts with the local government units and the non-government organizations on development projects for the communities under his jurisdiction. The command plaque is awarded to Lieutenant Colonel Alan L. Relon, Officer-128457, Corps of Professors, Philippine Army Reserve, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Best Reservist Officer of the Year 2017. Lieutenant Colonel Alan Relon is the Mayor of Tagum City. As Platoon Sergeant, Bravo Company of the 1st LYN Ready Reserve Infantry Battalion under the 804th Community Defense Center, 8th Regional Community Defense Group Army Reserve Command, he initiated the active participation of his unit in humanitarian assistance and disaster response activities, as well as in other community projects. The command plaque is awarded to Sergeant Ronaldo M. Locion, LY-A016646 Philippine Army Reserve, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Best Reservist Enlisted Personnel of the Year 2017. As Corps Commander, Visayas State University ROTC Unit by Bi-City, Leyte. He let the unit be adjudged as a champion during the regional and annual administrative and tactical inspection for 2 consecutive years, from 2015 to 2016. The command plaque is awarded to Cadet Colonel Edmond V. Limbaga, First Class, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Best Male Advanced ROTC Cadet of the Year 2017. As Corps Commander, University of the Philippines, Diliman ROTC Unit, Quezon City, she gained support from the school administrators in promoting ROTC programs, leading to the gradual increase of ROTC enrollees at the University of the Philippines. She also represented the Armed Forces of the Philippines during the Cultural Understanding and Language Proficiency Exchange Program in Guam, USA in November 2016. The command plaque is awarded to Cadet Colonel Gia Brilla J. Jason, First Class, for having been adjudged as the Philippine Army Best Female Advanced ROTC Cadet of the Year 2017. for contributing to the community-based peace and development initiatives, especially for the former rebels in the province of Bohol. The command plaque is awarded to the provincial government of Bohol. To receive the award is the provincial administrator, Mr. Alfonso R. Damalerio II. For supporting the peace-building and national development initiatives, paving the way for the declaration of the province of Agusan del Norte as conflict manageable and ready for further development area. The command plaque is awarded to the provincial government of Agusan del Norte. Receiving the award is Governor Maria Angelica Rosdel M. Amante Matba. For supporting the peace-building and national development initiatives that led to the declaration of the province of South Cotabato as cleared area. The command plaque is awarded to the provincial government of South Cotabato. To receive the award is Governor Daisy P. Avance Fuentes. For supporting the Philippine Army in its peace and development initiatives across conflict-affected areas in the province of Davao Occidental. The command plaque is awarded to the provincial government of Davao Occidental. To receive the award is Governor Claude P. Bautista. For supporting the community-based peace and development initiatives through the implementation of innovative programs on community service, environmental awareness, entrepreneurship, and youth development. The command plaque is awarded to Junior Chamber International San Juan Dambana. To receive the award is 2017 Local Organization President, Ms. Catherine S. Yap. For supporting the Philippine Army in its development support initiatives through infrastructure projects dedicated for Army personnel and medical doctors that immensely contributed to the upliftment of morale and welfare of the troops. The command plaque is awarded to San Miguel Corporation. To receive the award is Colonel Ariel O. Quirubin, Philippine Navy retired, Vice President, Special Assistant to the President, Chief Operating Officer of San Miguel Corporation. Thank you to the President, to the Secretary of National Defense, to the Chief of Staff, and the Army Commanding General. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give the awardees another round of applause. The guest of honor and speaker will now be introduced by the Secretary of National Defense, Delphine N. Lorenzana.
Mga kababayan at mga kaibigan, ang Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas at punong pangkalahatan sa Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas, Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Kindly sit down. Commander, could you give the tikas pahinga troops? Thank you.
Tikas! Ha! Ito po ng tikas.
Secretary Delphine Lorenzana and members of the cabinet present, General Eduardo Anyo, Lieutenant General Glorioso Miranda, Major Service Commanders, Most Reverend Udolpo Tumalak, the officers, men and women of the Philippine Army, fellow workers in government, my beloved countrymen. Since the establishment of the Philippine Army 120 years ago, our history is replete with tales of our soldiers' great sacrifices and significant victories to best protect our people and our national sovereignty. With primordial duty to serve the country, our Army's acts of courage and bravery give assurance to our people to live in peace and stability. As we continue to face both perennial and fresh security challenges, this administration guarantees that our soldiers are well provided with the necessary training equipment and benefits before they go to war. In line with the government's modernization program on the armed forces of the Philippines, we have been providing telecommunications apparatus and firepower and infantry fighting vehicles to the Army. This was among the priority initiatives we immediately undertook when I assumed the presidency in July last year. We have allocated almost 6.5 billion pesos for Philippine Army projects under the revised AFP modernization plan, which will be used to procure individual equipment such as rifles, pistol grenades launchers, and force protection armors. Last September, I signed an executive order increasing combat pay to all members of the armed forces from 500 pesos to 3,000 pesos per month. And their combat incentive pay from 150 pesos to 300 pesos per day. This modest increase will definitely help the families while our soldiers are in the battlefield. The Department of Budget and Management is also working on the proposed compensation adjustment to increase the base pay and hazard pay of our military personnel. I have directed the GSIS to study the possibility of having a housing loan program that will complement the soldiers' ability to pay. I believe that the soldiers will be more confident to perform their mandate knowing that their loved ones are secure and well sheltered. But remember, it is not only the acts of chaos and terror that you must end. I trust that the Philippine Army and all branches of the military will continue to help us in our drive against illegal drugs. This is a serious call not only for you, but all Filipinos, including your loved ones, whose lives may be affected or lost if you will not help to resolve it. Without you, our government will not be able to eradicate the ills of society that have been crippling our development for a long time. The Philippines will truly be harmonious and a progressive nation with you, our soldiers, as our country's vanguards of peace, freedom, and justice. Bago po ako maghinto, meron na pa akong pakiusap. This Rocos in Bulacan, parang ninagaw ng mga kapwa nating Pilipino na mahirap rin. I will look into the matter seriously and I will ask you, soldiers and the policemen, bitawan na lang ninyo yan, ibigay na lang natin sa kanila. Total mahirap sila. But I promised you, I will look for another land nearby or adjacent or maybe contiguous to that area there. And gagawa ako ng mas maganda. May tubig na at may electric na pagpasok ninyo. It would be the maraming dynamics dyan. Walang tubig, walang kulang, and hindi maganda pag kagawa. Those were not during my times, but I have asked the National Housing Authority to look for a suitable land at papalitan ko na lang yan on equal numbers. Huwag na lang natin guluhin yung mga tao dyan kasi lumalaban and their only sin is just really mahirap rin sila kagaya natin. So bigyan ko kayo ng mas maganda, mas konting mahal, mas komportable at mas malaki. Ngayon yung kadamay, ibigay ko na lang yan sa inyo, paalisin ko na lang, huwag niyong paalisin yung mga sundalo pati pulis na nandyan na. But eventually, they will be removed and transferred to inyo na mas maganda pa sa inyong inagaw. Para hindi na kayo magagaw. Ayaw ko kasing litin ang issue because it would somehow result in bugbugan, mapaluan, and to think that our sin is just talagang mahirap lang tayo. So, I still have the money. Tinanong ko ang NHA, sabi niya, sir, marami pa tayong pera. Yan ang pinakamalaking binuhos ko, agriculture, education, pabahay. Sabi ko, pwede natin ibigay furnace na. O sir, sabi nila, utos mo. Kama lang. Okay na yung kama. Furnace na kama. Hindi naman kailangan mo. Well, anyway, I said, I'm asking you, kung maaari lang, do not be offended. Take it with an open mind. Ako na mismo, inyong presidente, nakikiusap sa inyo. Let us not wage a fight against our own people. Total mahirap lang yan sila, intindihan na lang ninyo. And I will build another housing project for you soonest. And I will intend to complete it by December. So, kayong mga awardees, kung in the fullness of God's time, maybe by December, pipilitin ko talagang matapos. At doon na lang kayo, huwag na lang kayo makipag-away. Wala rin kwenta eh. Tapos ang pulis, kayo may baril, and you know, something could go awfully wrong. Hayaan na lang natin, basta nakita ng mga Pilipino, that is the behavior of some. But I said, to me, their only sin is just they are also poor like us. But just the same, I am making you the commitment. And I guarantee that you will have yours. Mas maganda. Walang mga problema because I will personally go there to supervise your housing project. And hopefully by December, magdasal lang tayong lahat that everything goes well and you can transfer to the new house. Forget about that. Yung mga kadamay nandyan, huwag ninyong galawin ang mga sundalo pati pulit. Kasi pag hindi tuluyan, paalisin ko kayong lahat. Do not create trouble, avoid chaos, and we will try to solve what ails this country. Maraming salamat po.
President Rodrigo Duterte there speaking at the 120th founding anniversary of the Philippine Army in Fort Bonifacio, Taguig. He mentioned his priority initiative since he took the presidency. He mentioned the allocation of 6.5 billion worth of projects under the